Welcome in Tuesday edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio here with you today. It's the annual school day game, Ole Miss and Little Rock, 11 a.m. from Swayze Field this morning. As my public service announcement is every single year, may foul balls miss all children over the course of the 7 innings or so that the kids are at the ballpark today. It scares the hell out of me every single time. So that is again this morning here at Swayze again. Jordan Vera on the mound for the Rebels. Otherwise, pretty slow day today, probably in Ole Miss athletics. Cameron Barnes commits to Ole Miss basketball since the last time we talked. So I might mention that today as the show goes on. But anyway, that's what's going on news-wise. We'll get into it here on the show. A show brought to you every day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Blue sky locations up and down I-55 and throughout North Mississippi as well. You know about the lunch specials. You know about the ribs that can take care of you for dinner tonight. Wet or dry, call ahead. They'll wrap them up, have them ready to go. It's quick and easy for you here in Oxford with the Blue Sky, and then down in the Jackson Metro with the Clinton Blue Sky. They do their homemade donuts every single morning. A lot of variety, a lot of flavors there for you. If you're around Clinton, stop in and check out the donuts there with Blue Sky. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote. The rest completely up to you. You can shop that quote around, do what I've done, recommend what you do. Let's hop into a Clark Ford today. Great service, great product. Corey and the people at Clark Ford, they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900. Guest will join on the myperfectfranchise.net hotline. Are you a displaced corporate executive? Are you wanting to put your career in your own hands? Or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Either way, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses and uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free, so you have nothing to lose. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net or contact Andy anytime at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or 404-973-9901.
What's your take on what's going on with this baseball thing, the gambling?
Referring to Alabama?
Yeah. Alabama. And it's on the Alabama side, which is also interesting. They just didn't flag the game. They are saying Alabama baseball is what is stopped here for anyone who's been under a rock the last 18 hours or so. Ohio gambling regulators on Monday instructed the state's licensed sports books to halt betting on college baseball games involving Alabama after suspicious wagering activity was detected in the Crimson Tide's game against top-ranked LSU on Friday. They are no longer taking acceptance of any wagers on Alabama baseball effective immediately. For that, it is some sort of monitor agency that talks about integrity, a game that LSU led 8-1 after 7 innings, held off a late rally by the Crimson Tide for an 8-6 victory Friday in Baton Rouge.
Alabama scrapped its starter on Friday before the game.
Yeah, he was a scratch really late, 10-15 minutes before the start.
And somebody, it's my understanding, and again, I don't cover Alabama. I don't know. But it's my understanding that it's something that it was suspicious in the amount of the wager and when the wager came in that made them think that it was someone
Connected.
Either inside or connected to the inside of the program.
My questions on that are a couple different fold. Number one, LSU was a minus 245 favorite anyway. They had Paul Skeens on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
A game LSU was most likely going to win. And I get you could have pushed it up to 350 or 400 or whatever, but Alabama's starting pitching has not necessarily been like elite. It's weird to me a little bit just from the standpoint of if it went the other way, you would think that, hey, Skeen's getting scratched. Well, that's a huge wager difference. That's a huge the way that you have to change. It would have to be a crazy amount of money, and it would have to come in at a time because, I mean, let's be real. If you're in the stadium, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're in the stadium watching the game, you could easily put calls to people going, hey, he's not warming up. Why don't you throw a little cash on this real quick? You know what I mean? Like, I just, it feels like there's more to it than just,
it feels like
simply,
and I don't think if somebody putting $30 down.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, somebody did something.
Yeah.
I mean, because that kind of stuff, what you just described, happens all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you know, you got to.
And now, typically, college baseball is not getting tons of money on it. That's not where the pull is across the gambling.
I wouldn't think. I don't know.
And there aren't even lines typically, so it's just money lines. It's not like, hey, oh God, Alabama came back and won by, lost by 2, not 7. Wow, that was weird. They let them score late. I don't know. I mean, it's more just got my intrigue up because it has to be fairly significant, especially to hold it moving forward. That has to mean they suspect it's something inside the program that is shaving.
That's what it tells me.
Yeah.
That they think that something's going on inside the program, that there's a mole feeding information, I guess, but it's not like feeding it to Vegas because Vegas doesn't do it, right? I don't know. I don't understand. Yeah, as much as we talk about gambling.
And it's just Ohio.
Yeah, as much as we talk about gambling, I don't really understand it enough to dive into it. I'm looking at AL.com to see if they've got anything in depth on this.
They touching it?
I'm looking.
Having a hard time?
I don't see anything yet.
Really?
I mean, it would be a difficult story. Oh, here we go.
Okay. What we got?
Let's see. This is by Nick Alvarez.
Okay.
Hold on. Got to pull up an ad. Hope in a Broken World. Fear the Walking Dead. The season finale. May 14th.
That's still on?
Apparently so.
The Walking Dead's still on TV?
All right.
Okay. The more you know.
Legal sports books in Ohio are not accepting any wagers on Alabama baseball, according to a directive issued on Monday and obtained by ESPN. Matthew T. Schuler, the executive director of the Ohio Casino Control Commission, made the decision after, quote, suspicious wagering activity, end quote, was detected in the Crimson Tide's 8-6 road loss to number 1 ranked LSU on April 28th. U.S. Integrity, a Las Vegas-based group that monitors data to see if discrepancies coincide with notable player or coaching events, reveal officiating abnormalities, or are indicative of the misuse of insider information, per its website, sent a warning to its clients following the game last Friday. Alabama Athletics, the Southeastern Conference, the NCAA, and the Ohio Casino Control Commission didn't immediately respond to AL.com's request for comment. Before the loss in question in Baton Rouge, Alabama sophomore Luke Holman was scheduled to start. According to UA's game recap, reliever Hagan Banks was told an hour before first pitch that he would be starting in Holman's place. Alabama scored 5 runs in the final 2 innings, but their late rally came up short. The Tide was swept by the Tigers, dropping the Tide to 30-15, 9-12 in the SEC. And then it says in April, Alabama head baseball coach Brad Bohannon was sued by a former player,
Blake Bennett,
along with UA's pitching coach and trainer due to mistreatment from an injury. So that's all from Nick Alvarez, who is a reporter for Alabama Media Group. If you'd like to follow him on Twitter, you can at Nick_A_Alvarez, or you can even email him at nalvarez@al.com.
I've learned more from the Walking Dead ad, I think, than I actually have from AL.com recently. That was good.
If you purchase a product or register for an account through one of the links on their site, by the way, they may receive compensation.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, somebody mentioned the thread, and I was going to mention it too. Got a lot going on in Tuscaloosa these days. Greg Byrne, busy man outside of simply just trying to run an athletic department. You've got now a gambling thing coming over you. You've got Blake Bennett, suing Bohannon and all those guys. I do not know the completely not frivolous or frivolous nature of that lawsuit. We read through it on the show, but I mean, who knows what's right or wrong or anything else, because as happens with a lot of athletic departments, they can't wait to tell their side of the story, but they never actually really do that ever. So I don't know what that looks like. The Brandon Miller situation, that was a PR nightmare at minimum and much worse than that at maximum, depending on where you fall on it. And then within the last 24 hours, they've also had a deputy athletic director arrested on domestic violence charges. Also, it's a busy day at the Capstone. Got a lot going on.
Matt Self, one of the senior members of the University of Alabama's athletics department and the department's administrator for the football program, was arrested Sunday by Tuscaloosa police on a domestic violence charge. According to Tuscaloosa Police Department spokeswoman Stephanie Taylor, who has a job that I would never want. Police were called to a home shortly after midnight Sunday. As a result of the investigation, Self was charged with third-degree domestic violence. He appeared Sunday evening in the inmate database of Tuscaloosa County Jail. He was placed on a 24-hour domestic violence hold, and bond was set at $300. He was no longer listed late Monday morning in the jail inmate database. Additional details surrounding the incident were not yet available from police. Alabama Athletics is aware of this incident, an athletics department spokesperson said in a statement. We take such matters seriously, and we continue to gather more information to address this personnel matter. Self, by the way, is responsible for all areas of compliance with NCAA, SEC, and UA rules and regulations.
Correct.
Monitoring efforts and investigations. In addition, Self, a member of the department's executive staff, oversees equipment operations, sports medicine, athletic training, nutrition, strength and conditioning, and is the sport administrator for football and volleyball.
Okay.
He has served in that role since Jeff Purinton's departure last May, when
That's the Arkansas State AD now.
Jeff is now the Arkansas State athletics director. That's correct.
The guy who didn't really care about Ole Miss canceling a game because he was busy with other things, like going to Jonesboro to be hired as the AD.
Yes.
Back in the day. Full circle. Like the Miller thing's a huge deal, obviously, but Alabama's handling of all these things is like whatever if you're just independent, but like all together, you do kind of look up and go, what the hell? Like, I mean, it's
had a lot of good fortune.
It's not necessarily fair, but then at the same time, you go, hold on, like, who's running this place right now? What is going on?
Well, I've always, and this is cynical.
Sure.
When everything's going great, I start going, hey, the sky's about to fall.
You believe in universe balance to an extent?
I just am not one, if everything's going great, to get cocky about it. Like, if everything's going awesome in my life, the last thing I'm going to do is get on Facebook and tell the world how awesome everything is going.
You don't wake up one morning and go, this couldn't go wrong. Mm-mm. Everything is fantastic.
Nope. I start kind of safeguarding for, hey, something bad's about to happen.
Are you as optimistic when things are going negatively that they are going to turn around?
No.
Okay. Well, it has to work both ways.
I just sort of put my head down and try to grind through it.
Okay. Because it can't be one or the other. It has to be both. It has to balance back out to the middle.
I just believe in a healthy amount of cynicism. And Alabama's had a lot go well.
For a long time.
For a long time. Kind of feels like, and I was there covering them before everything went well. And it kind of feels like it's sort of time for things to level back out.
Do all these things have a negative impact on either the football program, Nick Saban, or the academics in the institution? Because maybe the latter. And Alabama has blown up academically, or at least from an enrollment standpoint, since Saban's run, because football is a front door to the university. Alabama is Ole Miss's number one competitor from the standpoint of students who are accepted to Ole Miss that go to other schools and don't choose Ole Miss. Alabama's number one on where they end up going. State's only fourth, by the way, if you're curious. Tennessee and LSU 2 and 3. But I do wonder a little bit if all of this and all the I do wonder if it hits you. Maybe not in the football, as in Saban's not going to recruit or anything like that. But I do wonder if institutionally it does affect your student environment kind of thing. Because look, they've done all this with Tuscaloosa being kind of a shithole.
Kind of?
Fair. I was being nice. I mean, that is the remarkable part of that, is getting that level of academic enrollment and things that have turned as they have with, frankly, a declining campus city.
I mean, Saban did wonders for the place. That's documented.
Sure.
We've talked about it.
He's underpaid.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably no way to really accurately pay him. Yeah, I don't know enough about the type of student that they've gotten. I know that obviously it looks fun when you look at a game on Bryant-Denny on a Saturday afternoon. It looks fun.
Yeah, Dixieland Delight and the whole deal.
And for a lot of kids who probably aren't super duper serious, like most kids, frankly. I mean, they just look for a place that would be fun to go to. And I'm sure that the football success can be documented. And it has been, and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, the Miller thing, with the baseball gambling thing, is no one's going to care.
Yeah, nothing.
You know, and who? I mean, I'm not going to sit here on a podcast and convict Mr. Self, because who knows what happened, right? We've covered this fairly recently. You know,
no, it's totality of negative attention. It's not necessarily any one event outside of Miller that is some.
The Miller thing is a bad story for Alabama. The Miller thing, speaking as a parent, the Miller thing is, wait, what?
Oh.
On the Strip? All the kids are, that's where they go?
That's a good point.
And people
yeah. Right across from campus.
And all the riffraffs hanging around on the Strip and shooting people?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like, you know, when that stuff happens on the square, if anything happened like that, you'd be like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. I mean, if you know, I mean that to me, the Miller story is the story that if you're Alabama, you're like, God damn. You know, I'm not talking about athletics, because Saban's Saban. I mean, Saban's been running the same program for 15 years now. I mean, dude's been there for a minute. But the Miller thing is like, that's a bad story. That is a bad story. Forget the basketball part of it. From a university standpoint, that is a bad story.
This kind of thing can be going on across from campus.
This kind of thing is going on campus, yes. I mean, the Strip is basically on campus.
Mm-hmm.
That's alarming. If you're a parent, I mean, look, I'll say it. I mean, I'm a parent. I've got one more kid that's got a school choice to make, and Alabama's not on the list of eligible schools. And I have ties to Alabama. I grew up an Alabama fan. Both of my parents have degrees from Alabama, but I don't. Is that town safe? That's what you're looking for as a parent. Is a town safe? I mean, it's one of the reasons, quite frankly, in all these college towns, whenever something happens negatively, they do everything they can to cover it up.
Yeah, the tentacles that come from it, from enrollment and everything else.
One of the benefits from a university standpoint of newspapers going out of business is there's no local newspaper to really cover anything.
Oh, the amount of stuff that's not covered is astronomical.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, on all levels. I mean, not even crime, just period.
But, you know, compared to 20 years ago. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. It's probably, if you're inside their building over there, you're a little alarmed by it. But I don't know what their standards are for acceptance of out-of-state kids. Listen, I mean, this is a story for another day probably, but all of these schools suddenly are being pressured, or they're wanting to completely drop basically the standardized test requirements.
Over half the league has already.
And when you get to that place, and just anybody can get in, I don't know what's a college degree worth at that point. What are your standards? How do you truly compare student bodies if you're throwing standardized tests out the window? Because look, I'm going to guess that the standards at some of the top schools in the Houston area, for example, are a lot more difficult than Ruston High School. I'm just gonna bet. I bet any amount of money on that the kids taking AP level courses at Katy High School in Houston are far more challenged academically at the high school level than the same kids at Ruston.
Yeah, sure.
I'll pick on my alma mater.
Yeah, whatever. No.
Yeah. At Neville, at West Monroe.
Yeah.
It's not as challenging. So are you going to compare them? How do you compare those apples to apples? As opposed to if everybody takes the ACT, you kind of have a clue here as to who tests better. And look, we can all do the thing, but the test is unfair. The test is this. The test is that. It's a pretty good gauge. It's not perfect, but pretty good. The kids who make 36s on ACTs are 100 times out of 100 smarter than the kids who make 18s.
Oh, and I don't think that's even the thing. I think if you wanted to make the other argument, it's the kid who test preps the shit out of it to get to 23 versus the kid who makes a 20 who doesn't.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
that's the argument for that, not
Sure.
the 36. Those are brilliant children.
Sure.
It's the middle that you can prep your way through to a higher score.
You can.
No, I mean, there should be a lot of different things. I mean, we're going to break in a second, but
But even in those kids, right? On the kids that work their way up from, say, a 24 to a 28.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you found out something about their work ethic. You found out something about
or they could afford it.
their home life. Well, yeah, but you still got to put the work in.
Well, but
You got to put the work in.
but
Look,
if the other kid can't afford it, then it
I
gets
get it,
into a mess.
but you can't. If a kid makes a 17 on the ACT
oh, well, that's a whole
and
different.
says, I'm going to go put work in on his own
Yeah, sure.
or her own, he can still work his way up to a 22, 23, 24. You can absolutely do
But
it.
how are you differentiating between that and the 17 who can't afford the prep?
Then here's the truth. Not everybody belongs
Well,
in,
but
but
that's
not
the point,
everybody
though. It's
belongs
why
in
it's not a
college.
perfect
Right.
system.
It's not perfect, but those kids don't belong in college. They're going to fail anyway. Bottom line, they're going to fail anyway.
Why would the kid who has
Because
17 that can't afford it fail, and the kid who
Because
can?
he or she doesn't have the home life to be prepared for college. They're not prepared for college. They're going to go to college and they're going to fail. That's the bottom line.
No, that's too broad.
That's what I think.
Because then you get the kid who goes to college and actually does take advantage of the opportunity because he finally has resources because he's in college.
Sure, but look.
I mean,
we do this thing all the time. If you want as an American kid, if you want to improve your ACT score, if you want to do it, you can. Literally have an internet connection. And you'll have that at your school. You can go into your school to the counselor and go, I need to do some ACT prep. At any school in America, they can give you some stuff.
not the same as private, though.
Well, no,
hours and hours and hours.
I didn't, but I'll tell you this: as someone who watched a kid do hours and hours and hours, you can over prep for the ACT.
Oh, I'd buy that. Sure.
I've watched kids do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of preparation that, I mean, for one of ours, the best thing she did was just take the ACT prep class at Oxford High School. That's it. One class. That's all she did. She didn't do any private tutoring. She didn't do all the private stuff.
That's part of the argument, too, though. A lot of schools don't even have that. Oxford does.
But a lot of schools do.
I bet Hatley doesn't.
But the same kid at Hatley could go get the material and at least teach him or herself some of it. It's right. I mean, it's enter ACT prep in your computer on your Google thing and just get overwhelmed. I mean, it's tons of it. You can practice test the ACT for free till your eyes bleed.
There's a middle ground is the problem. We went from 100 to 0, and it's like, okay, it should matter. It also shouldn't be an end all be all.
I mean, I don't know how we got on this topic. I'm just a firm believer that not everybody belongs in college. That we've turned.
Well, I think that's a whole different conversation.
We've turned the college thing into something that's just.
I mean, I agree with there.
You know, I mean, so many people would be so much better served going into some technical fields.
Oh, 100%.
So much more.
100%.
We've cheapened college educations to the point where they're so expensive, and I don't really know what they're actually worth.
Yeah, there's a thread on the board right now. It's pretty interesting about it.
I didn't learn a damn thing in college. It either my undergraduate or my master's degree that has applied to my professional career. Not one thing.
Yeah.
Not one thing.
Couple thoughts on it.
Not one thing.
Come back to it in a second. Spring is here. It's time to refresh your outdoor spaces. Heavenly Sunshine Property Services, your go-to professional power washing. From your home's exterior and sidewalks to your deck and patio, the team has experience and equipment to get the job done right with their advanced power washing techniques and attention to detail. They can remove dirt, grime, mildew to review a fresh and clean surface. Heavenly Sunshine Property Services has been serving the Mid-South for over 4 decades. Full-service commercial, residential property maintenance includes power washing, soft watch, roof applications, facade cleaning, window cleaning, and more. So contact them today. Get ready to enjoy a brighter, closer, cleaner living space. Visit your website, heavenlysunshine.com, or give Sandy a call at 662-342-1203 to book your free estimate. Use the code MPW10 for a 10% discount.
Walk On Sports Bistro puts everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine, po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers, fresh salads, all in front of 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. Check them out in Oxford or Ridgeland today. The College Corner is your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, it's next to Fleet Feet. In Flowood, it's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, just go to collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram with the largest selection of Rebel gear in Central Mississippi. It's starting to warm up outside. Summer right around the corner. You want to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape. Get in touch with our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Different names, different company, different products. But I'm sorry, different names, different people, but the same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer at 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern 662-429-4429. A-Stock is a Nashville-based online retail company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items start at just $1. That's right, $1 no matter what the retail value may be. Shop now at astock.bid. That's ASTOCK.BID, or download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville, as well as Memphis, Selma, Indiana, and more coming soon that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. And we're brought to you by Solutions RX. It's a probiotic multivitamin supplement company created by Ole Miss Pharmacy alum Chris Cornelison right here in Iuka, Mississippi. I told you about prescription support yesterday. They also have all sorts of supplements and vitamins and other things that will help you stay more compliant, taking your medications, help you stay healthier over the long term. It's available in local independent pharmacies across the continental U.S., including all across Mississippi, or on their website, solutionsrx.com. Type in the promo code OEP at checkout to receive 10% off your first order. And it's graduation season. Dead Soxy has your favorite grads' feet covered. Every journey begins with the first step, so make it count and gift your grad premium Dead Soxy socks. Take advantage of 30% off savings or gift a sock subscription that will keep them fresh as they step into their new adventures in style. Visit deadsoxy.com. Use the promo code RebelGrove for 30% off savings at checkout to style up your favorite new grad. Congratulations to the class of 2023 from Dead Soxy, and as always, stay Soxy.
Kemp Alderman will be making a public appearance at Style Assembly on the Square in Oxford on Mother's Day. It's May 14th from 1 to 3. Stop by, hang out with Kemp, get autographs, take pictures, ask questions in a personal one-on-one setting. It's all free. There'll be a limited number of posters available for him to sign if you don't want to bring your own merchandise. And speaking of Mother's Day, it's just around the corner. Let the ladies at Style Assembly help you find mom the perfect gift, whether it's clothing, jewelry, purses, sunglasses, or a gift card. They simplify the shopping process with wish lists. Just have mom fill out a list at the store over the phone, and Kate, the owner, and her team will keep it on file. So you have to do is stop by, choose something off the list, and get the exact gift she wants. It's perfect for Mother's Day, graduation, birthday, anniversaries, or any special occasion. They can also ship straight to your door if you don't live near Oxford. So stop by the store on the Square. It's 203 North Lamar next to Blind Pig, or call them 662-638-3163. or DM at Shop Style Assembly on social media to place an order. But it's one of the things why what you learned or don't, it's one of the deals that they're struggling with, and this is not just Ole Miss, this is schools in general, that after the pandemic, and frankly, just probably happening even before that, they've softened the curriculum. It's easier. They don't push the kids as hard. They don't do the same things. They've become very, very cognizant of all these other things, and that's also cheapened. I mean, I would almost assume that just the amount of being pushed in college to what is necessary for the same grade has changed since you or I were in school. Dramatic. And I'm not doing that walk uphill both ways thing. It's just accurate. I mean, almost to the point of a class now at a little higher level is closer to what you would have done at the same introductory class, in my opinion, back in the day, if you will.
Yeah, I think there's more pressure to pass the kids as opposed to when I was in college, and it felt like half the time people were trying to fail us.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a different deal. But look, I don't have enough knowledge of different colleges to speak to that across the board.
And frankly, it's professor based. I mean, I'm friends with some professors that still teach very similarly versus some that don't. I mean, frankly, that's a teacher decision almost to an extent too. You've gotten softer, you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. It's stuff happens now on college campuses that's mind-boggling. But I come from a little different political bent probably than a lot of the people that are teaching on college campuses. I know some college professors who sort of think the way I do, and I sort of see a lot of the stuff that they encounter on an almost daily basis, and it's there's a ton of wasted energy.
it's changed in some ways, even looking for interns and things, because in the past you'd look for maybe a certain year and a certain thing, and now you go, hey, kind of at least got to get through these 3 or 4 classes, or you literally can't do it because it's too much to teach. You're not at a point of being able to know it or not know it at this point. It's just changed a lot of stuff professionally because look, when they turn 22 and they graduate, you're no longer getting that hand holding anymore. The world doesn't care. They don't care that you had this issue or didn't make this grade or didn't do this class or didn't do. I mean, it's just you're working or you're not at that point.
I mean, I think.
Well, good point. Okay, fair.
I mean, I don't know that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe so.
I've got one brother that works in corporate America, and I've heard some stories.
I mean, if in college, right. I mean, we devalue trade schools more than we ever should. They're incredibly valuable. They're lucrative. They're valuable in so many ways, and we do not push that as society enough in any way. There's no doubt about that. Trades and vocations. But the college experience too. You're learning new school. You're also just kind of growing up. I mean, if I said, "Hey, what did I learn?" It was more of, "Hey, how not to be so shy or network or like actually get into rooms and not freak the hell out." I mean, it's a lot of those things that you just do from 18 to 22 because you mature and realize they're important and that kind of thing. That's not necessarily in a classroom or writing something down on a Scantron or in a blue book. When you're doing it.
Different people have obviously very different college experiences because of what's going on or not going on in their lives or whatever. But yeah, sure. For some people, the social development is critical from that. And for some people, it's not. But I still maintain that not everybody belongs in college.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And that's not any type of judgment of anybody. It's just some people.
No, we made it too much of a success or not a success based off whether you attend a school.
Some people absolutely belong in college and some people don't. But college has become big business. It has become the system, the way that it is set up right now is tremendously flawed. It's expensive. It's one of the reasons I push back a little bit still to this day when people are like, well, I mean, student athletes, all they get is all they got was a education. Okay, yeah, but that education, I mean, has value. I mean, literal financial value.
Sure.
You're escaping college without student debt. And most kids have to take loans. Even kids who get scholarships, ask me how I know, have to take some loans to pay back. I mean, it's really expensive to go to college. Even in-state kids that stay local and stuff like that, it's still expensive. And I don't know that it used to exactly be that way. It's become big business.
In the schools, frankly, are saving a lot of money because, and this is not just speaking of Ole Miss. This is just kind of SEC. This is regional in general. They use so many adjuncts that they're not even, you know what I mean? They're not even making relevant wages. The teachers, and they're not even full-time faculty teaching a lot of the classes. I mean, it's a weird business model all the way around, where it comes in and leaves and what it looks like. So anyway, I mean, look, I am fascinated because it's a good problem in a lot of ways, and it can be a bad problem if it gets over a point. I'm curious what Ole Miss does logistically on where to put everybody moving forward because they're set for this fall another record freshman class because of all these reasons we're talking about. Because it's laying to a point, it's dropping of test scores, it's a lot of stuff. There's lots of reasons for it.
Yep.
But I mean, they're looking at 5,200 ish incoming freshmen next year. They have record retention rates. They're not losing kids to the level. And again, that kind of probably comes back to what we're talking about. They're not losing kids with retention issues the way they would even 5 years ago. I mean, you're talking about some lofty, crazy retention rates right now. They have to put them somewhere that puts more people in the town. It puts in general. I know they're doing a lot of things, talking to some other universities that have been through similar things, trying to figure out what that looks like and what that means because hey, just build more dorms is not necessarily the answer because those things take a while. You need space for them. They're expensive as all hell. And relative to the expense, they don't really house many students. It's not fixing your issue in a lot of ways. So you get to a point where you do have to start capping enrollment because you go, hey, we can't. I mean, in theory, if everybody just said yes, Ole Miss literally can't take 8,000 kids as freshmen. They don't have a place for that to happen in any way. They don't have the teachers to teach them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're getting on the top end of just growing and growing and growing and what that looks like as they move forward, because 5,200 is a pretty good increase over this past year. I want to say this past year was, I don't know, 44 to 46. There's an exact number, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. So, yeah, it's an issue. See what it looks like. Anyway, I guess that's my.
I mean, ULM's had to really address it. They've just said they put
Hey, look, when you get those coaching staffs down there that they've gotten, I mean, that just floods the school with applicants and enrollments and admissions.
They've had to really limit the number of Rhodes Scholars and things of that nature. Just put caps on it. Oh.
We rushed it there at the end yesterday. Anything else on Matt Mott and his departure you want to talk about or say before we move forward?
No, I mean, I just kind of a couple things, but I'm not going to say them. I'm just happy for my friend. I'm glad for him. I mean, gets to kind of take over a program that's getting ready to come into the SEC, and I think he got pretty favorable, a really good deal, and I think he's excited about it. And curious to see what Ole Miss does with that, because they were paying him a top 20 salary, and I'm gonna guess they don't pay the next person a top 20 salary. I could be wrong. This is kind of one of the things I'm sort of watching for at schools. Schools around the country that like Ole Miss, and this is not a derogatory thing at all, but where they're really paying big time for football, for men's basketball, for baseball, like Ole Miss is. I'm curious to see if they start trying to save money in the other sports.
Because look, there's a couple ways to look at it. And I don't have any real knowledge here. I'm just kind of talking logically on what this looks like. By the way, somebody asked about Oklahoma and what their soccer history is. They've only been to the NCAA tournament 4 times. They've only been to the second round once, and they haven't been since 2016. So it's not an overly competitive soccer program.
Yeah, they wanted to hire somebody who had been in the league and who had taken a program that was not all that successful and made it pretty successful. And Matt absolutely did that. He took a program that was irrelevant and made it very relevant.
I mean, I guess they've only had 2 coaches in the program's history, Steve Holman and then Mott.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
So there will be people that said, well, the program's ready to go to the next level. That's going to be easier said than done, because that sport's pretty competitive at the SEC level. There's some really good soccer programs in the SEC, and Oklahoma knows it as they get ready to jump in. You better have somebody who knows the layout of the league and who knows, how to compete.
You'll find this funny before I move on to what I was thinking about sports and Ole Miss is R.J. Morgan, who teaches in the School of Journalism at Ole Miss, tweeted this the other day. We always talk about how ChatGPT is going to try to confuse people and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm reading from his Twitter. Caught my first case of a student using ChatGPT last week. How did I know, you ask? Because the 4th paragraph of their article reflection begins, quote, as an AI language model, I cannot have personal opinions or feelings, but I can provide an analysis of the points made in this article.
Oh, my God. So the kid literally just cut and paste.
He cut and paste.
He didn't even
read it. You should be punished to whatever level plagiarism is and fail the class at that point.
You should fail the class.
Yes. It should be the level that whatever it would be if someone else wrote your work.
You should get an F/S. Failure/stupidity.
Yeah, that's like permanent record stuff right there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, heads up, flashing light here on this child.
Bet he doesn't fail.
And there are programs now that at least you can basically plug the stuff in and it tells you the likelihood that something is using ChatGPT, give you a high percentage. So it's at least a start, because if you're smart about it, it's a really big problem. But if you're an idiot, it's showing you're an idiot.
I do feel for college professors on this, because the kids who are smart,
it really can.
Yeah. All they have to do is get it and then go edit it.
Yeah.
Change it a little. Put a little work into it.
Put your voice in it a little.
Yeah. But let it be the framework of your work. Let it do all of your research.
As I said on the show several weeks ago, that's my biggest issue, is that college is about teaching kids how to research and compile and organize facts. Professionally, like I said, if it can help me, I get it because I know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But learning how to do that is a completely different thing. It shouldn't do that for you. But here we are. I am yelling at Cloud a little at this point, but
this is where, like when I was doing my thesis in graduate school, I didn't even have Google yet. I had to go dig, I had to go work.
Library and open the book out.
I did. I had to find stuff I had to go research, like literal research. So, yeah, I get it. The guy that's 60 years old, who's, has a doctorate from Yale or something, and he's teaching someplace, and these kids are, you got to just want to throw stuff at them and go, F, you fail. Like that person should fail. Yeah. They need to fail.
Yeah. There's
something to be learned from failure sometimes, and that person needs to learn, hey, dude, you got to at least try.
Look, it's back to the honest conversation we had the other day. Is I do think
AI. It's an artificial. God almighty.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Moron.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's beyond crazy.
I would have had to pour a drink at that point. You see that and you go, okay, I just need a break. I'm done.
Yeah, F/S.
But it's as little work as possible to just put something on the page. I do, and I think it's the point I didn't make well when we were having the honest discussion was I do think as a society we've put too big of a definition on it, and we're too scared of failure. Failure's okay. It's not a bad word. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, of course.
Even if the season was a failure, okay, learn from it. Like,
sure.
There's something about that word being the bullseye that you have to go, no, we just tried and didn't get it. Well, just fail. It's okay.
Sure.
Fail all the time. We've had podcasts we've scrapped. They sucked. Okay, move on.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, failure's good. If you're not failing, you're not giving a crap. You're not trying. If you don't fail some, then you're not doing enough to see if you can accomplish something. You're sitting in your cozy little bubble just doing the same thing you can do over and over and over and over again.
Well, it is what's wrong with the whole participation trophy, with the appeasement, with, hey, we want you to feel safe. What the hell does that even mean? What does that mean? So when I go to work now, I need to feel safe here. No, you need to produce what you need to do. You need to go to work. You need to produce. You need to justify your existence.
Yeah.
As Andy Kennedy used to say.
Yeah.
Justify your existence.
Yeah.
Justify your paycheck. That'll make you this. The more you justify your value here, the safer you're going to feel.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It stuck with me after we got into talking. I was like, I didn't elaborate my point. I thought that's what it is I don't like. He avoided just saying failure's okay. That's what bothered me about it. He gave like great dad advice, like the perfect thing you tell your kid. But at the same time, it was like, no, just it's okay, cool. Why is that an indictment on you because you failed? It's not. I don't really get it. So anyway,
no, there's I've said this many times. Growth comes from discomfort. I know it's cliche, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
I could cite examples of it with me, with my kids. We full circle with the ACT. When Campbell took the ACT the first time, Campbell did not want to stay in school in Mississippi. She wanted to leave. She was at the age of 15, 16. She wanted to go out of state. And I said, well, you're going to have to help me. Period.
Yeah.
You're going to have to help me. I can't foot that whole bill. You're going to have to help me. If you were an only child, maybe I could pull it off, but you're not. So you're going to have to help me. And, her first ACT was like a 25 or something. And she's like, what do I need to get to? I said, 30. And she put the work in. Had she just felt sorry for herself and said, oh, it's not fair, she wouldn't have gotten there. And she put the work in and got to that place where, I remember the night where she realized that she had it. And, it was cool, but she got there by realizing, hey, I'm not doing enough. I got to do more.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do more. And a hell of a lot of her ACT prep was on her own. 90% of it.
Well, because at the end of the day, to accomplish that, nobody can want it for you. You either do it or you don't.
Yeah, and nobody goes in and takes the test. Well, I shouldn't say nobody takes the test. There are people who go in and take tests, but you understand my point. Nobody took her test for her. Yeah. She wasn't going to get the math down.
Because we've seen some stuff.
Yeah. She had to go do it. Mm-hmm. I think we've kind of eliminated some of that in our. And I don't even feel like I'm old man yelling at clouds right now. I think I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm having a hard time. Okay, well, let's come up with reasons to justify it, as opposed to, all right, well, let's fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah, failure's a part of life.
Yeah.
You fail a lot. Right? It's kind of where sports is the last great meritocracy. If you think about it, we've talked about this before. Every high school team in America on Saturday morning, for the most part, they go watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not watching the film to change the outcome. You lost.
You're learning from it.
You lost. Sometimes you got your ass kicked. And the film starts with the coaches yelling at you. And if it's good coaches, there's a transition at some point in that weekend from, all right, you really sucked last night, to, all right, how do we fix this for next week? How do we improve?
Yeah, we've calmed down. The emotion's gone.
How do we improve? Let's turn this into a teaching moment. Well, we do that in sports at all levels. Ole Miss plays on Saturday. Ask me how I know that there were extra film sessions on some Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
They watch film on Sunday. But at some point, even after the most devastating loss, you go, okay, let's turn the page. At some point after the most exhilarating win, got to turn the page.
Yeah. Lane does a literal, we're throwing it in the trash can.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Moving on.
And that's part of it. It's one of the reasons that, like I said, sports is maybe the last meritocracy left.
It's one of the reasons why for youth and in high school, I like individual sports so much. The score is the score.
Sure.
You put the ball in the hole, you hit the ball over the net, or you don't.
Yeah, for sure.
You're on the horse and you jump over the thing, or you don't.
Sure.
That's it. No politics in that. There's a score.
All Clinton High School jokes aside, that night Carson came in the door hours after they'd gotten their ass kicked in the playoffs. Just destroyed. And he's got blood all over him. And he was invested. Blood, and you still tell he'd been crying and everything else. And I said, well, you saw the standard.
That's it.
Because you won't play anybody better.
Mm-hmm.
That's as good as you'll play. That's as good a team as you'll play. That's the standard. Y'all want to compete for a state title? There you go. That's what you've got to put the work in to be able to compete with those guys.
They finished it, I assume. They won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told him, I said, you might play a team that's just as good, but you won't play a team any better. Anywhere.
Yeah, sure.
Anywhere in the country. You can go to California and find the best team, and they won't be any better than that team from Clinton, period. And that team was driven and motivated, and they were ready, So you, at some point, you feel sorry for yourself for a minute, but then you go, okay, well, if we want it that bad, it's like right now, if you're in the SEC, if you really want it, there's a lot to this, right? But, you know what the standard is.
Yeah,
it's Georgia.
Yeah.
It's Georgia. That's the standard. It's not Alabama anymore. It's Georgia. Look at the draft.
Yeah.
You want to be the best program in the country? Well, okay. It's that one. Now, again, how do we find the resources to do it? But you do know what the standard is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's right there in front of you.
Yeah. You can see the top of the staircase.
It's right there.
There might be a bunch of moats, but you can see it.
It's not a figurative deal. It's literally right there. It's okay. Well, how do we get to that place? How do we get to a place where we can compete with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question that everybody in the league, if you're being serious about, hey, we want to be a championship contender, like Hugh Freeze is over there at Auburn, at some point he'll talk about championships and stuff. Okay, well, you don't have to look far, bud.
A few miles east.
It's right there.
Yeah.
What he's built is what Saban built. And to prove it, I mean, how Georgia got there, they put their entire focus on being Alabama.
They do.
And they got there.
Yeah.
It took a minute. Brian Kelly's doing it at LSU right now. He's not stupid. He knows exactly who he's chasing.
Mm-hmm. Podcast brought to you in part by the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. Speaking of, ready for the Grove? Join them at Vaught Hemingway Stadium this fall for the 2023 football season. Order tickets now to participate in the seat selection process. To explore season tickets, visit OleMissTix.com or call them at 662-915-7159 today to help block the vault. Again, that's OleMissTix.com, 662-915-7159.
Game Changer patches are the only two-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. The warm-up patch used before or while you drink. The overtime patch used after you've been drinking to recover while you sleep. The all-natural ingredients will keep you in the game and ready for your next play. Go to GameChangerPatch.com, promo code RebelGrove20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase. ACS is owned by my friend Clay McNutt in Baldwin, Mississippi. It's a complete electrical control system solution provider. It's a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. They've got a full-time dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff and a UL508A panel shop that can service and install Rockwell Automation, Allen Bradley, Siemens, ABB, Square D, and many other manufacturers. It's ACSLLCMS.com or call 662-601-4381. Got about a month and a half or so. Go visit our friends at Lammons Fine Jewelry. They're going into retirement, but you can still stop by at 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford and get the absolute gold standard in fine jewelry. Visit them at lammonsfinejewelry.com or give them a call, 662-234-2777. And we're brought to you by Pinnacle home to the Pinnacle 401k advisory services team, where they'll conduct a complimentary, no obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle on the podcast, and they'll take a little extra care of you. It's mypinwealth.com, MYPINN wealth.com. And we're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you're planning a summer vacation, maybe you're planning a holiday trip or whatever the case may be, get in touch with John. Going to Europe, whatever the case may be, get in touch with him, give him some parameters, give him a budget, let him give you options, and no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387 or send him an email at jedwards@regencytravel.net.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer MedSync. For your prescriptions the same day each month and take care of you. One trip to the pharmacy, one delivery. You have everything you need when you need it with G&M. They also can transfer medications. One phone call, they take care of the rest. Whether that's Oxford or Holly Springs, let them handle your pharmaceutical needs moving forward. Again, that's 662-236-2222. So what I was saying was, yeah, I mean, you look at it and just logically, and I get that salary structures aren't everything to do with an expenses for an athletic department, but Ole Miss has I don't even know the exact number, let's say 12th budget in the SEC right now out of 14. I mean, they're all over 100 million, but
yeah,
Ole Miss is 12th or something. When you look, and I don't have the list in front of me, but I can do some common sense off the top of my head. Ole Miss is top half in a lot of salaries for head coaches. I mean, you look at it.
Football, men's basketball, baseball.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's number one public school in the country, number 2 overall behind Vanderbilt. Kiffin's a top 10 paid football coach, which is a huge number, obviously.
Sure.
Beard is top half of the SEC. I would assume that Yo is top half of the SEC. She's close to $1 million. I'm guessing, but
I don't know.
I would assume.
Sure.
If I'm wrong, okay, I don't know.
Right.
Corey Hinkes is one of the top women's golf coaches in the country from a salary standpoint. Matt Mott was a top 20 soccer coach. Point being, you run through all these sports and you go, logically, if you have the 12th budget, all of your salaries can't be top half because that makes no sense in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Just accounting wise, to me, that makes sense. Now the argument on that is some of the differences in these salaries is like $100,000 or $200,000 between 5th and 8th or whatever. And you go, should that really be breaking the bank and making a difference? And I understand a lot of people have that thought, but if you have that thought process with 20 different things, well, suddenly that's $2 or $3 million, and that really, really matters. So at some point you do have to draw lines in sands. And if you look at what Ole Miss is paying coaches, I would assume there's very few sports that they have just sort of punted and said, we're not going to try to really compete with the top couple salaries or top 5 salaries in the conference. My guess, I don't even know this, but volleyball is probably one of those. But I do wonder if that is where women's soccer is, that barring something that's unexpected, you try to peel that back a little bit and then puts a bunch of incentives in there where maybe somebody can earn that.
Right.
But you're not just keeping that salary for the new coach to go out and chase that, is my guess.
I think you would have to, if I were, and look, the next time that someone at Ole Miss or anywhere else comes to me for hiring advice will be the first time. But I think the question I would have to ask myself internally is, what's the ceiling? What's the realistic ceiling here? I don't mean a Cinderella run. What's the realistic ceiling?
Soccer?
Yeah.
Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I would assume, I mean, again, I know nothing about sport, but just in theory.
And so, if that's the case, and then I'd probably say, what's the realistic floor? What's the, where should we be landing on an average year? Again, not a Cinderella run, or not a year where my top 6 players all go down with knee injuries. What's a realistic?
What's the baseline?
Yeah, what's kind of my realistic number? And then I'm trying to sort of hire commensurate to that. And I think I would probably go young, up and coming energy. And when that person wins, he or she moves on and I hire the next one. I think that's what I would try to do at a program like Ole Miss that I'm guessing does not have the resources in soccer that, say, Florida has, or I don't even know who the other. Kentucky is a pretty big program, I think.
Whomever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I don't think you can just throw money at everything. At some point, it becomes self-defeating. And in this environment, like in NIL and all of the, stop, Neal, stop. Pay for play.
Yeah.
I'm going to start hitting myself every time that I say the word NIL, like just going to punch my leg or something every time I do it. I think you've got to prioritize. You got to make decisions.
You do.
I mean,
and Ole Miss is overextended on football.
It is.
I mean, now, if you win a ton of games, it's worth it.
Yes.
It's the price of poker.
Sure.
But financially and accounting-wise, they are overextended on football.
Yeah.
So that has impacts on everything else.
Sure.
Including hiring and firing decisions, frankly.
Yeah.
Across the spectrum, because you have buyouts and stuff.
Of course. I mean, it's when you step up to
had Kermit go 9-9, he would not have been fired.
No.
Because they went, that's just buyout right there.
Yeah, just roll with it.
That's $4.2 million. I'm good.
I mean, Kermit's challenge was to be competitive. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Be competitive enough to the point where you keep excitement at least humming in the building.
And obviously that did not
happen. They didn't. And so they made a big move. And I mean, it's, there
have been no fears with coaching hires. I mean,
no. I mean,
they're shooting.
In those sports, and those are the really high profile, big reward, big risk,
Keith's not ever going to get fired because of what tennis or golf is doing. Like, it just doesn't. It's not going to get you in water.
Look, some people might complain when volleyball's not good or whatever, but you're never going to have the big staff meeting where, like, hey, we have problems when the volleyball arena's half empty on a Friday night. When Vaught Hemingway's half empty on a Saturday night,
you got a problem.
You're meeting on Monday.
The Twitter's blowing up a little more. Yeah.
You're watching the film. Hey, what happened here? I mean, it was that, it's the whole Matt Luke thing. I don't think they ever really intended to fire Matt Luke until it got to a place where there was just, hey, can we afford to do this again? Can we afford not to do this? And yeah, you're right. I mean, from a pure business standpoint, from a pure an accounting standpoint, take the emotion out of it. Is Ole Miss overextended in football? Yes. Now, is it worth it if they win big? Absolutely. Because of how high profile it is, what it means to the university, what it means to morale, to everything. Now, the flip side of that is when you are overextended and then you don't get your money's worth, people get a little antsy.
Well, it's why, look, I mean, logically, you're right. But I've had people around the football program go, hey, even though this much money's being poured in, that doesn't change the expectation. It's like, I get the job doesn't change. Like, you can pay Lane Kiffin $1 million or $50 million, and that does not make it easier or harder for him to win football games.
Well, now you're getting into the honest discussion.
I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I've said about Mike all the time. Where he goes, God, we fill it up and we're paying him so much. I'm like, okay, explain.
Sure.
Tell me how that translates to a win, please. It doesn't. So in that way, people are correct in saying that you want what you pay for. It's why I keep coming back to, you can't pay a coach to go 8-4 who makes $9 million. I'm going, well, hold on. He actually goes 8-4 if he gets by every coach he makes more money than. If it literally is just a salary thing, Ole Miss goes 8-4 next year.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, it's just welcome to the SEC.
Right. It's just the cost of business.
So the question is, what are you paying for? That is the question. And it's not even necessarily wins and losses. It's like, what operationally are you wanting from your program? Because some years you're just going to lose games. Everybody else is trying too. Like, it's why you don't make a huge deal out of one necessarily a year, because things can go awry.
It's one of the things that I'm most interested in seeing what happens around the SEC just kind of every year now is not everybody can win. I mean, I was on Matt Moscona's show yesterday, and he said that. Not everybody can win. If everybody's invested.
Somebody still.
I mean, they still play the games, and at the end of the game, somebody has less points than the other. I mean, and sometimes the margin's really, really small, and you have to decide, okay, how close are we? How far away are we? I mean, we used Missouri as an example. Go back and look at Missouri's season last year and look at how very close they were to that being a special season. Really freaking close. But at the end of the year, they just look at it and go 6-7.
Yeah, there is not a sport in the world that cares less about how you got there than college football. Your record is your record.
Yeah. So
that and golf, you don't draw pictures of it.
But I mean, media days in Nashville in July, there's this parade of guys that you're like, okay, this guy makes $10 million. He makes $9 million. He makes $8.5 million. I mean, and yet the ones that make like $5.5 million. I mean, can you imagine at the press conference? Hey, we only lost by 7. I make $3 million less than that guy. Just think, they paid me $3 million more. You can't say that. So I don't know. It's a crazy the whole deal's.
But Lane's also getting a lot of what he wants from like analysts and things along those lines. I mean, it's not just salary. They've put money into that program in every way. I mean,
Memphis Rebel with the super chat says, do you think Keith and company are slacking off on softball? I don't know enough about it.
I don't really understand why they are. I don't know enough about the inner workings at all. I don't really understand why they're as, quote, bad this year as they are. They should be better. They were pretty good last year. They were good last year. And their RPI is still 31. Like, even though they're 7-14 in the league, I think.
The league's really good.
The league is really, really good. I think they're 7-14, but they would make the tournament today.
Yeah.
I assume. I don't know how their committee works versus other sports, so I don't want to. But I think they're in. No, I don't know. I look, they've had a lot of stuff.
I told you this.
That has been a program that has been just obliterated by off-field stuff over the last 5 years in a lot of different ways, even with the current staff.
I was in Fayetteville earlier this year. I'd gone up, I guess did I go up to help Caroline move or something after her surgery? I think that's what it was. And yeah, it was. And the Florida softball team was at the hotel.
Okay.
And I was talking to one of their coaches, and we just were talking about stuff. And we got into talking about the league. And because at that point I was like, hey, how'd you guys do this weekend? Like, you're going to go play the rubber game. This is a tough place to play. And then he goes, all these places are tough to play. Everybody's good. Everybody's invested. Everybody's spending money. Everybody. He goes, it's just
like every other sport.
Yeah. He goes, it's just brutal, and he goes, no one feels sorry for you. You just whatever. It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
He was talking about just different places and how there was a time when some of those places would be, hey, we can go get 3 there.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now you just like, hey, let's make sure we get 1 or whatever.
What's the way to, it's transitioned to the same way it is in baseball or football. It's like everybody's invested. So
And so I don't know. I don't even know what the point is. It's just that it's
everybody's putting money in, and somebody has to finish last. In softball, because look,
and you take one step back, and a step back can look like you fell off a cliff, when in reality you didn't. You just kind of maybe you didn't pitch quite as well, or you didn't do. I mean, look at Ole Miss baseball this year. I mean,
yeah, you can't say they don't care.
I mean, they're invested. They're trying hard. It's the same exact coaching staff that won a national title less than 12 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
The margin for error is just so freaking small.
And the game's changed.
Yeah.
Stories later.
I mean, Tennessee last year was running roughshod through the SEC. They did the whole season. We forget about it because they didn't make it to Omaha, and
25-5.
And half the league did. But they ran roughshod through the league. They just kicked everybody's asses. And this year they're having a harder time. Now they're getting going now, but he didn't forget how to coach, is my point. Botello didn't have some sort of but he didn't. He didn't forget how to coach.
Yeah.
He didn't.
No.
And I mean, it's just, man, the league's brutal. It's the part that wait till if the basketball people are right about this year coming up, everybody's in for an absolute shock. Like, there are people around the league who are telling me there's going to be one bad team. One.
Which is great for the league, though.
Great for the league.
Yeah.
But what it's telling you is hey,
go ahead and get ready to have a pretty good team that finishes 8-10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where you're
now you might make the damn tournament.
Yeah, where you're screaming and yelling about we're only 8-10, and no, you're good. Just the league's brutal. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of really good teams. I didn't say elite.
Yeah, good.
Really good teams with really good coaches. Look at the coaching roster in this league.
It's never been better.
And so, you're going to have schedule losses. You're going to have schedule wins. It's going to be brutally difficult. Now, that's good for the league because the league will end up getting 8-9 teams in the tournament, and that's what it's all about. But
saddle up in the regular season.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess the full circle on the soccer thing is you just have to, I think one of the things you have to do if you're Keith or someone in his spot is I think you have to have people that you trust who can tell you, hey, here's your maximum return on investment.
Yeah.
And the truth is right now, if return on investment comes from exposure, and I mean, it's football, obviously, men's basketball,
baseball, softball,
women's basketball, maybe in that order. The softball.
If softball is really good, it really enhances your late May, June.
Yeah.
It's
the TV people love softball.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Is it just
That's a good question. Would you rather be nationally elite in softball or women's basketball?
I think women's basketball.
If you're nationally elite, women's basketball, but if you're just really good, might be softball. Yeah. I think that's probably true. And now, look, softball's getting their new stadium. They have the worst facilities in the league. I think you can recruit and win at softball at Ole Miss. I do. I think this makes sense to win here. And the stadium will help. They're playing in a place that's far worse than their counterparts.
And high school soccer down here is getting better, but it's
not softball.
It's still catching up. Yeah.
Correct. Podcast brought to you in part by Northeast Spark, NESPARC, service people across rural communities. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That's nespark.com, 662-238-3159. Phone service, parental controls, network security, a wireless mesh extender, and much more. So call the office for details to get the best internet in Lafayette County, also parts of Union and Pontotoc counties for those who need that extra step. So again, 662-238-3159.
Graduation right around the corner. Also another baseball weekend, and sometimes people just come up to hang out on the weekends. And if you do, make OPA a part of your weekend. Fabulous food, great craft libations as well. It's OPA on the Square, Oxford's newest Greek restaurant. I'll have a mailbag up at some point tomorrow. It's brought to you by Whitney McNutt of Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors, serving you for all of your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. Whitney sells condos, land, commercial, and residential family homes. You can reach her at 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844. Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency has been connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you're on the job hunt, they can help you across the board. But if your company is looking to hire quality, hard-to-find talent, Service specialists can help. Keep in mind that payment of service is solely contingent on if you decide to hire a candidate that they send, so you have nothing to lose. Give Will, Sydney, or Kelsey a call at 662-832-5138 or check out their improved new website, servicespecialistltd.com. Get the beautiful and healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today and take the first step towards a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com. And we're brought to you by Southern Traditions Farm. It's a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails. There's so much offered at Southern Traditions. Beginner horseback ridings offerings. You can compete at nationally recognized competitions for the more advanced riders, and it's also a great venue for events, reunions, parties, get-togethers, that kind of thing. So get in touch with them on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Traditions Farm.
Podcast is brought to you by Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. You can go to the website, choose one of 7 different offerings, get those delivered straight to your door. If you're within 10 minutes, freezer to plate, and you are ready for shrimp, whatever night you choose. They got a lot going on, a lot of activities. Prime Shrimp is perfect for a fast meal. It's great for a snack. I put it on salads a good bit during the day for lunch as well. So Prime Shrimp, use code RG, buy 5 pouches or more, and you get 25% off with RG for that code. And then if you're not sure what flavors you want, if you want to do some samplers, don't necessarily want to commit to the entire pack, they got their sampler 12-pack going on right now. You can get 2 each of the New Orleans barbecue, garlic herb butter, French Quarter Alfredo, Louisiana boil, lemon and cracked pepper, and the signature. Use the code STOCKUP, STOCKUP, 12% off on that sampler 12-pack now. Again, primeshrimp.com. You concerned? I mean, how concerned should the Celtics be right now? They're just like blowing games. Like they look really stupid in the last 2 or 3 minutes of games right now. They lose last night at home without Embiid.
Yeah, I mean Harden was great.
I mean, sure.
I don't know that Harden can do that game after game anymore. Embiid's probably still out for a little while. If I'm Philly, there's no way he plays in game 2 now because I just stole one. They're probably still okay, but I mean, we're getting back into margin of error. There's just not a lot in the NBA. There's a lot of good teams. Boston has to play well. When Boston plays well, they're the best team. They have to play well, and they got, again, Harden was special last night. I don't know that I look for Boston to win game 2 easily, and then this thing goes to Philly, and at some point, I think for Philly to win the series, Embiid has to play. I don't think they can win 4 games. And again, man, you saw this in the Kings-Warriors thing, right? These are not one-off games. These are series. There will be adjustments made. And at some point, Philadelphia's got to have Embiid, I think. If they can pull this off without Embiid, then, hey, man, Doc Rivers is kudos.
Oh, well,
hats off.
Sure.
And I think he's a great coach. But this would be one hell of an accomplishment. But Boston will make adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, they're not out of the series. I'm not putting them to bed right now or anything.
The one that might is close to getting put to bed is
Denver,
Phoenix.
Yeah. I know you're sad about that.
I'm struggling. Chris Paul got hurt last night. Call it growing tightness. It's like the thing that happens to him every playoff series. He gets hurt at some point. It's still Kevin Durant and Devin Booker that make their engine go, but Denver is playing at such a high level right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Nikola Jokic is playing at Embiid's going to win the MVP today, and he deserves to. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that Nikola Jokic is an MVP caliber player.
And has been the best player over the last 3 years.
Yes, and is an absolute beast right now. And they're really good on defense. They have a lot of good role players. I mean, Jamal Murray was not particularly hot last night. It didn't matter. They still Murray and Jokic, when they're both healthy, their 2-man game is It's art.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't defend it. There's nothing. You can't stop it. Jokic is so big and so skilled. And Murray is so smooth. And then they have all those other weapons, Porter and I can't think of his name. They've been in the league forever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Gordon.
Okay.
They just have guys are professional NBA veterans, professional guys. And then, like I said the other day, young guys who come in and give them quality minutes. And Malone's a good coach. He's been there forever. They have this established culture. And
Oh, look, they're really good.
I mean, they're legit.
Tonight, you get Miami and the Knicks, 6:30 in that one for Game 2. Miami leading 1-0, so final game at the Garden before headed to Miami for Games 3 and 4. And then Los Angeles Golden State Game 1 tonight. That's 9 o'clock on TNT for that one tonight. So 6:30, 9 o'clock doubleheader on TNT tomorrow. Or tonight, sorry.
There's going to be so much pushback from people about they're going to get tired of hearing about Warriors-Lakers. And I get it. But at the same time, this is kind of cool, isn't it? That you get LeBron at the end of his career. Hell, maybe he plays till he's 60, but
Here's the surprising thing for me.
Okay.
I have no real rooting interest in this at all.
I kind of dislike both teams.
That's kind of where I was going here, is that if you ask me, who do you pull for in the NBA? It's as loose as possible, but I say the Mavs. And then beyond that, it's a lot of Eastern Conference teams. I like the Celtics. I like the 76ers. I actually find myself watching more Eastern Conference than Western Conference. I don't know why. I just do. Even with the Grizzlies right up the road. But when I said, okay, because this is my thing. I mean, people on the podcast know I say this once a week. You watch a game, you're going to mentally pick somebody you want to win the game. You just are. When the ball's in the – it's like when you need to make a decision, you flip a coin, because when the coin's in the air, you're going to want that to fall one way or the other as it's coming down.
Right.
I want the Warriors to win, which I didn't expect.
Oh.
But I went, no, I'm tired of the Lakers. I don't want the Lakers to win. And I don't know why, because I'm not like super hated of LeBron James or anything. But there's something about, I get this way, something about what the Warriors have done is I kind of go, I want to see how long you can ride this out. I don't know. Go ahead. Try to win it again. I'm curious.
I don't know who I'm for. I'm almost kind of looking forward to the first quarter tonight, because I think at some point it'll hit me that I want one of these two teams to win. And as I sit here right now,
I will pull for Denver against either one of these teams in the next round. I think I want Denver, Philly in the final.
Oh.
And I typically pull for the Celtics. They're sort of the Eastern team that I find myself pulling for the most. But for whatever reason.
If I'm Kendrick Perkins, I do not want Denver, Philly in the final. I don't want that. Don't want that. I got to relive some stupid stuff day in and day out.
All right.
I am fascinated by this series, because whoever wins it is going to scare the hell out of Denver because of who they are. Like the Warriors just terrify you, because it's Steph and Clay, and suddenly they get hot. And I mean, Steph's like kicking the ball from 3 quarters and it's in. He gets going, and he's like Michael Jordan at
Well, I mean, I was watching this in real time with a big Lakers fan, Michael Katz, who covers Ole Miss for the Daily Journal. He's from California. He's a Lakers fan, legitimately not one of those from across the country.
Yeah.
And as soon as he saw the Warriors were going to win that Game 7, he's having like these horror moments, like going, oh, God, Steph's going to score 60 every night, and we have no chance. And, I mean, it completely got in his head that it was Golden State and not Sacramento. I mean, it was just gone.
Look, I mean, as a Thunder fan, I mean, watching those two do their thing and Draymond doing his thing, and it's PTSD. And until they're done, I don't count them out.
As long as there's a pulse, it's not over.
But I also think I just think it's cool if you like basketball and you like the NBA, and people like me, and I know we're probably rare here that do. This is kind of cool that we get to see this. This is an all-time great team, an all-time great player. When I say team, I don't mean this year's team, but I mean that group.
Yeah.
Clay and Steph and Draymond, they won before KD. They've won after KD. Here they are again. Everybody's counting them out. And at one point, it looked like they might not even make the playoffs. And
I think Steph likes KD.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, they got out of KD what they wanted to get out of KD. 3 finals appearances, 2 titles.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm sure he probably values winning without him.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, KD's fine. We talked about the whole Durant thing till we're blue in the face. Kevin Durant's just not driven in a way that, and he's also not a natural alpha.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that he's not a great player, because he's a great player.
Sure.
A great player. I mean, I push back against people like, oh, he doesn't defend. Yeah, he does. He's a great defender.
Well, he's maybe he's one of the top scorers of all time, but we're never going, oh, God, Jordan, Durant, LeBron, and Kobe. I mean, it's just not, that's not his shtick.
Yeah, it's just not who he is. And he kind of a little bit has some people that kind of guide him around, and he's a little bit of a follower, and he's got a lot of outside interest. He's not just basketball.
Yeah, sure.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but well, you're gonna get LeBron's best here.
Oh, you are.
And you're gonna get Steph's best. They raise tides. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So,
and I mean, I think I'm for the Lakers, but I'm not exactly sure. I kind of like some of the role players on the Lakers team. I like Dennis Schroeder. I like
Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves is fun. I mean, Hillbilly Kobe and that whole deal. That's fun. I like Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Warriors. I think I'm for the Lakers. I think I will catch myself cheering for LA, but I admire Golden State in a way that's difficult, but you do. Yeah, in a way that if you admire greatness in anything, even if you don't understand it, you know, it's like you watch Messi play. Even if you don't really understand soccer, you realize that's greatness, especially in his earlier days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
sure.
You just admire greatness. It's one of the reasons that World Cup final was so watched by people, is I think they realized, oh,
we're seeing a moment together here.
Yeah, we're watching a moment that involves greatness.
Yeah.
Even if we don't completely understand what the sport is. When you go watch a hockey game and McDavid plays, you don't really understand exactly what he's doing. The way that if you were a hockey aficionado, you understand, oh, here's what he did. But you understand greatness.
Yeah, we know great.
Yeah, we know great. And when you watch LeBron in his prime, you knew you were watching greatness. And Steph is greatness. And so you get all these people around them that they rise them, and it's fun. I mean, that's going to be a fun series. If I'm Denver, I want that series to go 7 games.
Yeah.
Beat
the hell out of each other.
Exhaust each other and make it emotional, where you're going to come to Denver for game 1 and you're going to be completely flat, and we're going to pop you and get ahead and figure out
we'll go from there.
Figure out a way to get to 4 wins.
Yeah. You segue this in. Because of the havoc going on, I'm really into the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, because last night it happens again. The Rangers get eliminated by the Devils last night. You beat 4-0 in a game 7 that they were never even competitive at all. These are the teams left in this thing: Toronto, Edmonton, Dallas, Vegas, Carolina, New Jersey, Florida, Seattle.
Oh,
that's the 8 left.
I mean,
obviously the Devils have won titles. Carolina's been good.
Yeah.
But I am as casual as can be for the NHL. Give me a Maple Leafs Oilers final.
Yeah.
Would love a Maple Leafs Oilers final. That tortured fan base in Toronto, they're actually the statistical favorite, by the way, from an analytical standpoint.
Did you see where the Panthers are requiring proof of U.S. citizenship to buy tickets? That's great.
Yes.
I love
because
that.
the Maple Leafs travel like crazy, and
it's almost like soccer. I mean, not soccer. Hockey's really big there. What it tells me, if I'm the NHL,
I got parity.
Is that I've got a really good product. Now I've got to figure out how to get people to understand it.
No, it's picking it up for like, even I'm going, whoa, hold on. This is neat. This is cool. It's not just the one seeds beating the crap out of everybody and you move through and it's whatever.
We talk about this all the time. What makes the NFL so popular? It's 3 things. 1, it's fantasy football. 2, it's gambling. And 3, it's that in so many markets, you can talk yourself into, hey, we're a playoff contender.
Well, and look at this. Outside of Florida, all these are really good hockey markets. Like Carolina, they support them there. Vegas is a great hockey market. Dallas is a good hockey market. Yep. The Stars have been very successful in Dallas after moving from Minneapolis. I mean, it's really, really good. But statistically, analytically, the Maple Leafs have a 26% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. The Oilers have a 17. The Stars have a 15. Vegas 12. Carolina 12. Devils 9. Florida 8. Kraken 2 is what they have it at right now.
If you're the NHL, do you want Edmonton, Toronto?
Yeah, because you get best player, Connor McDavid, against maybe with the best fan base in hockey, but hasn't won in 20 years, like hasn't even done anything.
Would you get a U.S. audience? Or does it matter?
There's not a U.S. team that you're going, oh, it's not like I get the Rangers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different if I got, or even the Blackhawks or the Red Wings, where I can play around that.
Sure.
But no, give me the two, just the two best whatever, and let me run with it. I mean, I don't think your viewership is jumping up because it's New Jersey, Toronto, or I know they're in the same conference, but whatever.
Vegas, New Jersey.
Yeah, whatever.
Right.
That's not changing the dial because it's that. Just give me the best. In some ways, I kind of want the Canadian teams to. It's hockey. Like
they love it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Give me. It's going to be more of a World Cup soccer kind of feel to it. Give me that. I'll run with it. I'll be all right. That's no big deal. But I'm kind of in.
If I'm the NHL though, I know I'm being repetitive. I'm sitting in a room going, "Hey guys, we have a great problem, but it's a problem."
The 4 teams left, or the 8 teams left at this point. The matchups: Florida's at Toronto, so Maple Leafs heavy favorite over the Panthers, because you got to think emotionally. Florida's pretty spent here. Seattle against Dallas. Dallas is a very heavy favorite here. New Jersey at Carolina. That's a good series. And Edmonton at Vegas. That's a good series.
Yeah.
So those are your.
Edmonton, Vegas. God, that'd be fun to go to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It was a great venue for. It was awesome. It was one of the coolest things. It was cool. It was a regular season game in December, and it was just fun.
Yeah. All right. We got some more stuff coming tomorrow. I had actually more on my list, so we'll hit that a little bit. Got a 2024 mock draft we'll go over a little bit. Obviously, everybody knows Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick for next year as of right now.
I always got another defensive back in that deal.
I saw that.
Hawkeyes defense, baby.
I did see that. Also, Arizona is projected to have the number 1 pick last year, and they have the Houston's pick. So there is a decent chance they can draft 1-2, 1-3, 1-2, 2-3, something like that next year. So just keep that in mind. Kentucky Derby had its posting stuff yesterday as far as the draw for where they will be lining up. So anyway, that and more coming up.
Interesting name for one of the horses, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Thank God it was spelled a little differently. It's Forte.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I know.
America did not need that this week. That is true.
We dodged a bullet.
We did, and it was the favorite too, 3-1.
I know. Saw that.
All right. Little Rock, 11 o'clock. Rebels and Trojans is Ole Miss and Little Rock coming up today. School day game. Hope everyone's safe. Hope all the kids have a great time.